Oil fracking has sparked one of America's greatest debates, whether or not we should do it. One side says that we need the oil to survive today, while the other says that it's not worth hurting the environment for just oil. We went to one of our own science teachers, Mr. Voss, to explain the science to you.
Well, the science behind it is that if you take water, treated water that has chemicals, and you force it between layers of oil shale is a metamorphic rock, you can crack it or frack it in pieces, and that will then expose pockets of oil that can be extracted. It also exposes pockets of methane gas, and methane gas is a huge contributor to greenhouse gases, even more so than carbon dioxide. And so what's happening is you're releasing in the process, through the cracking and the fracking process, it releases methane into the air. So that's a potential thing that we have to look at.
On one side of the argument, we have Matt Carlo, a social studies teacher here at Monarch, who argues that the only way out of the oil cycle is to drop oil completely.
My position on oil fracking is I'm against it in a large way, and here's my reasoning. I believe that if we are going to this length to try to reserve and get fossil fuels, I think that we've gone too far in a sense. That if we need to inject the earth with chemicals that could then penetrate our groundwater, affecting thousands of people as they're drinking and washing water every single day, that I think that we've gone too far, and we need alternatives to the fossil fuel era. The age of carbon is coming to an end, and right, the realization of that needs to come from a lot of people. The cavemen, right, they knew that the Stone Age was done even though they didn't run out of rocks. And so we need to realize that the oil age is done even though we don't run out of oil.
On the other side of the argument, we have Blake Evans, a senior project manager at Wilburow's Oil and Gas. He argues that oil is what we live off of and the only solution to energy.
No, it's impossible to live without oil and gas. Unless you want to ride a bicycle to work or school, use wood-burning stoves, candles for light, electricity requires oil and gas, home heating requires oil and gas, getting anywhere in your car, going on vacation and a trip, boats, planes, manufacturing, equipment, everything relies on oil and gas. There's ways to conserve energy, but there's not a way to get rid of it. Wind turbine obviously has not worked, has not been effective. They've tried to use waste to energy. It's not cost effective. People aren't willing to pay a higher electrical rate to use a more environmentally safe way to produce electricity. So that's what forces the oil and gas to keep using gas turbines, coal-fired items like this, because it's the most economical solution, and the consumers do not and are not willing to pay a higher rate as they do in other countries.
It's going to be, again, this push of technology. Right now, what we're doing is putting solar cells on a lot of buildings, and that's going to help a lot because it decreases the need of centralized power stations, of huge centralized power stations. So now what you're going to create is prosumers, people who are actually producing energy and consuming it. Right now, we're just consumers. We just feed into the grid. And what Denmark and other countries have been doing is something called Green Energy Smart Grid. Green Energy Smart Grid is utilizing energies of renewable sources at the time that they are best available. So wind in the morning, right, you're going to charge it up, or sun at the hot part of the day. But the sad part is that we don't often need those energies at that time. So what you're going to need to do is store them. And that's going to be the next technology push, is how do we store solar energy so that when we need to ramp up, right, necessity, right, when everybody gets home from work and there is no sun, how are we going to use that sun energy? So it's now, you're going to be storing it in hot water, you're going to be storing it in molten salt, so that it can be stored for a little while, that you can use it when you get home.
So now that there's like solar powered houses and solar powered cars and electric cars, do you think that we're going to stop relying on gas more, or do you think that the industry is going to start to slow down?
Absolutely not. That's pretty much false, because most houses are not equipped with enough solar panels to power itself. Solar powered cars don't work. And people that use electrical cars are fooling themselves saying they're saving environments. They're reducing that type of gas emission, but they're using more electrical power. Power plants use gas turbines for the most part. Windmills, any kind of renewable energy is a very, very small fraction of what is used and is not economically sound, or we would have more of that in use.